in the
Mr.
standard as
Stevens.
well.
Is that working now?
Yes, we
I'm
can hear you.
retiring November 7th. and, no, unfortunately. I'd like to introduce your new legal volunteer, Adam Borchard, who's a 2L which is a second-year law student at McGeorge, and with your permission, ask him to come to the table and give you maybe a 1-minute bullet point quick presentation on an issue that I had asked him to take a look at. He's only been with us now for, about a week? Yeah, and he works on Thursdays and Fridays in his spare time. We need a lot of help, and so far he's really hit the ground running. But later on in your agenda, you're going to hear from the Delta Water Master about California's area of origin laws. And what we like to do periodically in giving updates on litigation, regulatory matters that are going on elsewhere, we like to do some follow-up, and we actually noted some follow-up with regard to the state analog case or cluster of cases to a federal decision that was actually referenced in Craig's report. You'll hear from him later on. And so I had asked Adam to take a quick look at it to give me an update. And with your permission, he's willing to do that.
Would you like to identify him by name or simply as the young lawyer-to-be who's going to do all the serious work that we need to have done because you're aging and about to retire yourself? Is that what you wanted to say?
Okay. Adam, would you like to at least, take a seat and introduce yourself, and where'd you come from, and what are you doing, and what do you want to be when you grow up?
Is this on? Hello. Good morning. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, members of the board. As Chris said, I'm a second-year law student at Pacific McGeorge. I went to UC Davis, graduated in environmental science and management, so I am somewhat familiar with the water issues in the state. I come from a farm family in Northern California, too. So Chris asked me to look briefly into the State Water Project Supply Allocation Settlement Agreement. It's just some basic background. In July 2008, 4 North of the Delta State Water Project contractors, Solano County Water Agency, Napa County Flood Control and Water Conservation District, Butte County, and Yuba City sued DWR, challenging the department's right to impose shortages on the district's contractual allocations under the State Water Project.
Shortage in this case means actually delivering less water than they would prefer.
Correct.
Okay.
They claim
they've contracted for if the water were available.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, they claim that the shortages were violations of the state's area of origin water rights statute, specifically Water Code sections 10.505 and 11.460.
County area of origin and
county of origin and area of origin.
Okay, so those 2 of the 5 area of origin statutes.
That's right. Yeah. And then this past summer, on September 12th, DWR adopted a negative declaration concerning the agreements in principle with the settlement agreement. It found no or less than significant impacts on the operations of the State Water Project and the hydrology and environmental resources of the project area, including the Delta. Overall, the increase in the State Water Project deliveries to the 4 districts amount to about 0.5% of the SWP's total, approximately 20,800 acre feet.
And this was reduced substantially from the announced proposed reduction that led to the lawsuit, if I remember reading correctly.
That might be true. I'm not sure
over
exactly.
100,000 or something? I don't remember.
I'm not sure of the amount that they were initially arguing for. But the agreements do not increase the maximum Table A State Water Project allocation amounts to the districts. DWR has determined that the additional water to be delivered to the districts will be from a mixture of 3 sources, either water that's available as Delta outflow, water that's available for export to south of the Delta, or it's diverted as a different water project contract type, such as Article 21 or carryover. And of course, the potential sources are determined by the hydrologic conditions and regulatory restrictions, including the Delta. And the provisions of these agreements ensure that the potential impacts on supply to south of the Delta state water project contractors would be minimal and less than significant. In particular, in Butte County's agreement settlement, they have a provision where they can lease an unused portion of their maximum Table A amount to other state water project contractors under separate lease agreements for a minimum of 5 years with an option to extend. So just to conclude really quickly, the settlement agreement involves a relatively small amount of the overall state water project amount, and it will ensure that DWR remains in compliance with regulatory restrictions, including the biological opinions of the state and federal Endangered Species Act.
Was the litigation dismissed as part of this?
It's currently on hold, I think. I'm not exactly sure. I know they had a few motions, and then they reached an agreement.
Was there a acknowledgement of victory or defeat in this, or is it the typical settlement agreement where people don't say whether you won or lost, they reach some kind of an agreement and hope everything flows from that?
I think it's the latter, where they reach an agreement and they're going to move on from there.
Okay.
So that's the extent of my report.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Expect to do 2 hours of presentation per council meeting from this point on.